Predator Hunting Boys has filled me with more confliction than any game I've played in the last 5 years. The game has such a simple, common-sense idea for a Predator title that the game would practically design itself. Yet here we are again with another fantastic game idea that falls short either because of inexperience or not enough development time. And looking at the responses from the player base, it's either majority completely negative and bashing the game religiously, or the complete polar opposite, where they defend the game so much that it becomes comical. Personally, I'm on the fence, where I have a lot of fun playing the game, but I can't ignore the fact that it has so many issues that they need to address. The primary problem for me personally spawns from the only game mode that the game has to offer right now, where at a foundational level, it just doesn't really work. The game wants the fire team to feel like they're being constantly hunted by the Predator, and they have to watch their backs no matter what they do. And the player, as the Predator, is supposed to feel like they're stalking and setting up traps and ambushes and waiting for the opportunity to split them off and hunt them down and pick them off one by one. But the game really doesn't allow for that, at least to the extent that I think they were planning for. A majority of the matches I've played, whether I was the Predator or the fire team, the game mainly focuses on a very rush-down heavy type of tactic. And a lot of that boils down to the Predator not being able to split up the fire team, or the game being designed around the fire team sticking together constantly. Even the tools that you get later on as the Predator that gives you some traps and like a net and things like that, it still is focused around a rush down mindset. There's not a lot of huge opportunities to set up situations or block off certain areas with traps and stuff like that. So regardless of the player as the Predator or as the fire team, you're always going to have these matches that go kind of one of two ways, and it usually just leads to an all-out attack by the Predator, and then he jumps into a tree for a couple of minutes, then he comes down, dies, and self-destructs. And it's not exactly anyone's fault playing the game. It just boils down to the game only giving you kind of that option as a viable tactic. And I want to be clear that the game does try to give you tools and try to give you the sense that you can set up ambushes and traps, but it just doesn't really work that way. I think something they could add fairly easily and just adjust to make the game fundamentally more interesting as of right now would be to add in some sort of missions for the fire team that does require them to separate maybe into groups of 2 to go accomplish an objective. It's a very simple thing that a lot of horror video games do. They kind of force the players to go do something they don't want to do. And I think their previous title, Friday the 13th, did a really good job at splitting everybody off into small groups or individuals to go complete a joint objective. I really think this would help the game be way more interesting right now and allow for the fire team to actually plan and strategize what they're going to do and have a little more communication without just going in and bum rushing bases. I also think though that this goes hand in hand with also giving the fire team maybe more defensive options. Whether it be in this mode or a separate mode, maybe giving them the ability to kind of set up a defensive line if they plan accordingly against the Predator. Overall, the game just needs more variety. The Predator needs more things that he can do. He's not that interesting right now. The fire team, they need a lot more they have to do, and they need a lot more planning and strategy to actually make them engaging and interesting to play as. The game also doesn't just need gameplay features and more variety, it also just needs better map variety. I understand that the original film took place in the jungle, and it's awesome, but I would also like to see maybe an urban setting or maybe a snow map, because right now the jungle map is very monotonous. Unfortunately, this is one of those games that got sickened with the bane of a road map, which means we have no idea what content's to come and if they're even going to follow through with it. If they plan on adding tons of features to this game in the future, as early as next month, why not just wait a couple more months before you release the game to have these features in it? Instead, we're now stuck with a half-baked game just hoping and praying that in the future it gets better.